A lot of people can't figure out, why would you choose someone Trump-like as a running mate? Because what does that really add after all? Other than obviously he's younger, being, approximately half Trump's age. But, I don't know, we'll be analyzing this all the way till November, and beyond. But, as for me, as a sort of fellow blue collar, lower middle class kid from Ohio, just up I-75 from where JD Vance grew up, my take on that is Trump has already converted Ohio. Ohio was always a swing state. I grew up in a purple county in a purple state, is what I used to say. Ohio went 8 points for Trump in 2016 after going for President Clinton, 20 years before. And interestingly, 8 points for Trump in 2020, despite the fact that he lost. I think the move of Vance has different layers to it, but the one that stands out to me is ensuring that Ohio stays in the Republican column and doesn't go back to being a swing state as it was my whole life. But also, you look at Vance's speech, it's almost to me like something that could have been given by a blue collar Democrat a generation before or a union leader. His emphasis on the working man and wages and concern about free trade and acting as a check on China. I almost thought like if I had a bingo card during his speech and I could mark off the number of times he said Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Michigan or unions or workers or just the concerns of what used to be Democratic concerns that Democrats aren't talking about anymore. I think the Vance's sole purpose, if he achieves nothing else between now and November, to keep Ohio in the Republican column, which I think is a no-brainer at this point, but to make headway into Pennsylvania or to Michigan or Wisconsin, which are similar types of voters. If he does only that and nothing else, then Trump made a good pick.
I think it was a very confident pick from Trump because he doesn't necessarily have that pull of maybe getting Virginia. I think the governor or whatever from Virginia was kind of my pick for Trump, because if he would have won Virginia, it would have been a 40 state landslide for Trump. But he went with JD Vance, who I think was more so a confident pick from him because he doesn't necessarily have that pull like Pence did with the evangelical voters who were concerned about Trump's character. Maybe he just wants that loyal bulldog who's gonna fend for him and fend for his record and be that loyal. I mean, I guess he sort of has the blue collar pull.
It's that kind of hillbilly elegy thing, I think the question is going to be, I think a lot of staunch Trump supporters believe that as president in a second term, he's all powerful in the way that they see him. And what I wonder is whether that's really true, because Trump never facing voters again in a second term, typically second terms of presidents are not successful. And part of the reason they're not successful is because you're not all powerful. Even when you win in a landslide, like Reagan in 84 or Nixon in 72, because what you realize is from the moment you're elected, power begins to drain away from your body. Rather than be the all-powerful, president in a second term, most second terms are not successful. And what Trump supporters are going to realize is that power is going to begin to drain away from Trump the moment he's elected, because he's never going to face voters again. And so Vance potentially occupies this very awkward space where he becomes almost a bridge, not just to the future because of his age, but to Trump's own retirement. And as Vance begins to get more of the spotlight away from Trump, which I think is something Trump doesn't really want to share with anyone, it's not his style. There could be tension in that relationship after they're elected.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that was one of the main reasons he picked him. Why I say it's a confident pick, but I think he chose him in terms of his legacy. Because after this, this is his last shot. If he gets elected, he's president, and then he's probably going to disappear from political life. Maybe not his family, but he will. I think this is his legacy pick, that he wants to carry on his legacy. And I guess you could say the quote unquote MAGA legacy with Vance, who's such a young guy. But do you think it was a politically smart move? Do you think it boosts his chances or diminishes them?
Well, I think Vance is the first embodiment we have of a possible future vision of Trumpism without Trump. What does Trump's style look like? Does it last beyond Trump? I think Vance is a gamble that's maybe the form that it could take. If they hold Ohio and they get Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, then Vance is going to look like a brilliant pick. If he doesn't chip away at those swing states that Trump needs, then people are going to point to that as the most important mistake of the campaign.
Yeah. I honestly I don't see how he's going to increase Trump's chances in those swing states because if you look at the polling, Trump was already polling well in those swing states, polling better than Vance was. So I really don't think he's going to boost his numbers that much.
Well, and Vance isn't going to hold the big rallies, the way that Trump is. What Vance might help to do is divide some of the labor. So if Vance can help to negotiate something with, UAW workers, or do something that Trump simply can't do himself, or maybe come in at the very end for the handshake, I think Vance could play a valuable role in terms of some of that ground game as a, almost like an ambassador rather than a vice president for Trump. And so, will that be helpful? That might help. But the polls, as you say, already favor Trump, and I think it was a self-confident pick. He could have gone with, he could have gone with someone else who had greater outreach, say, with conservatives or evangelicals. And I think to your point about self-confidence, I think Trump is making a gamble here that those voters don't have anywhere else to go. That he already has them.
Yeah, for sure. I do think it's a little bit of a gamble.